So before we go to a sort of a general discussion Q&A, I also just wanted to bring up the point on direct assimilation from NWP centres. So we talked about this a couple of years ago, and we had a few contributors on that topic. I've just got an update from ECMWF. I don't think they're online because it's really early in the morning there, but just to check. If not, I can kind of relay a few points from them. So they're planning to do direct assimilation of their coupled SST assimilation analysis. This has now got a name. It's called RAD-SST. So this is using the coupled model that they're developing to produce an SST analysis from level 1. And they're looking for some guidance from GHRSST, and we're already sort of discussing with them on various things. So the topics are things like, which operational data to use, but are not currently used in ECMWF, historical data for reanalyses, guidance on bias correction and calibrations with different sensors and channels that's relevant for the SST retrievals. That's obviously going to be the most challenging area and something that GHRSST has a lot of experience with. And then also thinking about possibility of adding the RAD-SST to the GHRSST catalogue, for example, as an additional level 4 product, and how to produce that in terms of specifications, spatial resolutions, skin or foundation or depth, etc. So we'll continue to discuss that with ECMWF, and perhaps we'll get an update on that next year. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know in case there's also some comments or questions on that. So now I'd like to broaden it out to a general discussion. So yeah, thank you again to all the panelists for your contributions. We'll write up a kind of a summary report of this session. I think there's some really good points, and we need to think about how the GPO take those forward and what we need to do within GHRSST, also with the different task teams and areas to make these things happen. But yeah, now I'd like to broaden it out to some questions. Perhaps are there ones in the audience or ones online to start with?
Yes, it's more like a comment. So first about the cloud data access. So for now, it looks a bit like the access to the GHRSST data through the cloud makes things a bit more complicated for the users. At least it changes the habit, and you have to adapt to that. So it's quite a stretch, but I think the good thing about this is that we can build services on over the data, and I think it will solve issues like were mentioned by Pallavi, for instance, that it may be complicated to manipulate the data. People not necessarily know about NetCDF. It can be difficult to extract time series from a large data set. And I think the services that we can build on the cloud can solve that kind of problem by offering some way of manipulating data cubes. So that's one thing. And the other thing I wanted to say also, it's related to a comment by Christo about also liaising with other groups for other variables. I think it's quite an important point, and it's also related somehow to the cloud data access, because we are now living in a world of artificial intelligence. And for this, to develop this kind of application, you need to develop kind of multivariate training data set. And I think we have also somehow in GHRSST to contribute to building this sets of multiple variable data set with reference data that consider proper for then for AI application to ease the development of this kind of AI-based application and usages.
Thank you, Joe.
There is a question online from Jorge, Anne, if you want at some point.
But you sure? Okay. So yeah, Jorge first and then Rashmi.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should I go ahead? Or?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just I wanted to just go back to Helen's, I think, some excellent points. And one of the things that in terms of developing and now with the cloud technology, I think it's something that it's worth looking at also because it's going to give us a lot more, as Ed was also pointing out, a lot more flexibility. But I think we need to also be careful about saying, well, you know, we're not using or enabling tools and services to define the best data set. Because maybe this is obvious, because there is not necessarily a best data set for all applications. One size doesn't fit all. But if we can develop tools and services that allow a user to somehow, you know, come to a conclusion based on their applications, oh, I want to use this data set, I think that's a possibility that we might want to, you know, take a look at. And I mean, my other, and it's more of a comment, I think it would be great to also get feedback right now from the users and the GRIST community, you know, for example, on, you know, how to move forward with some of the issues, for example, of the software transition to Python and because I had a user, for example, email me the other day, and he said, Jorge, all of my scripts are written in R. I have everything written in R. I don't have the time to translate everything to Python to be able to use it. And I tried to explain to him, well, you can still download the data from the cloud and run it on your own computer. So these are also, I think, some of the things that would be great to get feedback from the user community on. We really need that. And so I think this, because stuff like this is not, I mean, everybody's not going to learn Python overnight. So, and a lot of the, software is already written in other languages. And just one more quick comment on Emmanuelle talk also with respect to eco-stress, just to inform people, he wasn't able to be here because it's an eco-stress science team meeting this same week, but David Wheatley and I have a proposal that's, the goal is to create a high-resolution eco-stress SST product, and part of the proposal will be looking at very closely things like the stripiness and stuff like that to hopefully eliminate that and create a sub-kilometer SST product from eco-stress also. So, and I think a coastal tag would be fantastic. Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Jorge.
First of all, I mean, many thanks to all the panelists, because so many points were brought out and it was quite a learning for me. So just picked up a few points from the views expressed by you all. So the focus that turns out to be is the cost. So because all of you talked about the cost, so that's a very encouraging point. And taking something forward from Ed, he talked about synergistic use of these coastal products, be it coming from the SWOT or sea surface temperature or ocean color, or I mean, basically all the observations that are coming from the space-based observations. So in that context, again, the coast takes the center stage. So what I suggest is, why not co-design a session in the next GRIST meeting in collaboration with the COAST ad hoc team, and showcase some of the applications which are specific to the coast. Essentially, how it will help you is, because we are developing the downstream applications under the coastal Coast AHT. So there will be a good feedback from this team as well. And the another point which can help the coast team as well is that they will be also getting the guidance from the GRIST science team as to which product to use for the coastal applications. So it will help both ways. So that is my one just suggestion which can be taken forward. Another point which is very important, which Christo talked about, is about broadening the user outreach. So essentially, we have to, under the GRIST, what I observed is we do have some user feedback. However, we have to, transition from the designer's point to the operational user's feedback point of view. So maybe we can invite some of the operational users so that they can give us more feedback on how it is helping them in their routine operations, in their monitoring the coastal or open ocean applications as well. HAB being just talked about as one of the applications. So these are just my few quick points on the deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that was a really good suggestion for the joint session at the next meeting, and we'll talk to you about that. Yeah, thank you. Sanjit?
Yeah, real quick, a few points. I mainly want to respond to Dr. Rajkumar, a few points. Jorge just alluded to that. I don't know if you got the total picture. So in around 2012, we had a tag, technical advisory group called OSTAG, Application User and Support Team, that was doing exactly what you told now, suggested. So maybe it's time to revisit, and Jorge is online. He already alluded to that. So maybe we can tag up again and think about those things. That's just the point he told, but he assumed that you already know, but you probably don't know that it existed, right? Second point, coast again, she told Dr. Rashmi Sharma. I just want to add that we do have a poster on the same coast stuff, Application Knowledge Hub over there. There's a lot of overlap. And I think she just didn't mention that ISRO SAC is a co-chair in that project, CS Coast. And Paul DiGiacomo, NOAA, is also co-chair. So we are already involved in certain ways. And when Paul and Rashmi Sharma, they are there, I will be there too, involved, right? Okay, so that's another point. The third point is LST you mentioned. Why only SST? Why not LST? But second, the question is why not air temperature then, right? So yeah, in the front, you can look at a broader perspective of the entire system model, but just to let you know, and I'm pretty sure you're aware that there is a strong LST team as well. In terms of data format, they may not be as advanced as we are, but in terms of science, algorithm, they are frank. I come from that background 20 years back. So instead of having LST included, maybe think about having something together is 5 years, like GRIST, LST, Symposium, Frank, and other folks, right? Simon Hook, Lake Tahoe, all these things is there. So that is a possibility. I think we can talk about it. I had a few questions for you, but I'll spare you for now. In technology, we can catch up later. Helen, all good points about validation, but we have to go back to the fundamentals again about the space-time window. I think we need to do some research there. I mean, people know that intuitively, okay, half an hour, whatever, but we need to do a sensitivity study, which I started in 2015, but then I left that job. So, also maybe talk about model error, etc., not just validation, in which Chris and John Mithas, they're very good. And finally, Anne, for you, when you spoke about NWP, SST and stuff, also keep in your mind to be in touch with Charlie Barron from US Navy. They are actively working on some stuff. I had some email communication last night. He will be a very good, person to talk to and very knowledgeable these things. Charlie Barron.
Okay.
They're working on a GDEM ocean. It's climatology, 3D climatology. That's it. Anybody wants any more question?
Okay, thanks. I just before John next, but I just like to pick up on the coast point again. Yeah, I think this is obviously a very clear outcome of this meeting. It's great that we're starting to put a task team together, and yeah, thank you for the comments on the CSIR coast synergies. I'm aware, yeah, ISRO are co-chairing together with NOAA, and I think, yeah, it's really important that GRIST engage with those activities. Absolutely. John?
So I'd like to comment on something that has been talked around but not specifically talked about, I think, which is things like the SSES. You talked about maybe having a standard uncertainty as part of the GDS. As some people in this room know, part of my job is to, at level 1, mainly at the moment, to provide a metrological framework for uncertainties, which starts from error, builds up through the process to provide actually multi-level uncertainties with correlation length scales, etc. But I think it's time that we took the bull by the horns with the SSES and actually tried to come up with a framework that everyone can use to generate uncertainties, rather than the current situation, which is let the producer give us what they think. Because when you're talking about measurement, and I think the other thing that never really gets talked about in GHRSST is that we're all trying to measure the same thing. And sometimes we're trying to measure the same thing with the same instrument and we get different answers. So there has to be some, I mean, we should start working towards what GHRSST says it's trying to do, which is best practice. In my mind, best practice means finding the best way of getting an SST given a sensor, given the conditions, including cloud. And I think with the metrological framework that we've developed for level 1 and starting to develop for level 2 for a range of different products, there may be more of an easier way forward for everyone, in that the framework is kind of already around. It's just maybe we need to think about applying it to SST as well as to the other stuff that we're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I think those are good points, and I will talk to you some more about that after the meeting. Yeah, best practices for the SSES and the uncertainties. I think that's something that yeah, needs some coordination and work to make it happen. There are groups already producing uncertainties in the products. So the uncertainty models already exist, and other groups, but I'm aware by talking with other groups that they kind of, you know, they don't have the knowledge to be able to implement these activities yet. So it's something that we could perhaps share across GHRSST and develop those methods and communicate those. So yeah, I'll talk to you about that later. We're running out of time, but we've got time for a couple more questions. Chiara, could you bring up the Miro board again, please? We'll have a look. We won't discuss it in detail, but just to see how many comments and notes we've got. Christo's got a question in the meantime.
Thanks. This is a question for Ed, really. There was some talk, I think, at a previous GHRSST meeting about incorporating some daytime data into a level 4 product like MIR. I know the reason why we are using the nighttime data to get the foundation temperature. But if you are not looking for that particular product and want to resolve another signal, wouldn't it make sense to also have a level 4 product, including daytime data, that resolves other signals and then simply recommending to users which product should be used for which purpose? Is that possible? Is that in the works?
Sorry to report that we just basically stabilized MIR in the using cloud input data, and that was a big hurdle. We have really kind of like in a run out of funding and essentially funding, but we are planning on trying to seek more funding down the road. This idea of having a, you know, ingesting daytime SST using some diurnal model has been on the books for many, many years, but we just haven't had the time to execute on it. To be honest with you, this upcoming proposal, that activity is really beyond the bounds of it, and we're really just looking to extend MIR with high resolution SST such as VIRS as MODIS falls away, which is going to be the thrust of that activity. But it's a goal that we can certainly keep on shooting for down the road. And I know MIR is still a very popular product, but it does only have some limitations because it's still a strictly nighttime product or uses nighttime data. So that, you know, causes some limitations in its use and application. So we'll keep it on the radar screen, no promises. We'll try to make a best effort basis if we do get some more funding to, you know, evolve MIR.
I just want to say, I think it's a really great product and resolves. Oh, you've got a mic. It resolves the musical features
around our coastline very well, except for those particular locations. And you understand why the daytime will have some relevance in terms of being able to resolve cloud in a different way. Thanks.
Yeah, something that has been left out of this meeting, which has been discussed at all previous GRIST science team meetings, is diurnal warming. GRIST has been involved ever since the start, like 25 years of trying to find the best way to estimate the diurnal changes of SST during the day. Now, as far as I know, the only operational diurnal SST product is from the Met Office. They've been generating it for several years. It's available on the CMEMS portal. Or maybe it's not because of Brexit, but it was a few months ago. Is it still there? That is a 0.05 degree by 0.05 degree. I think it's 6-hourly product. It's based on both satellite SST inputs and NWP fields and a model, I understand. But because the Met Office didn't contribute a presentation at this meeting, they didn't get to talk about it, but it's been around for years. Possibly it could be improved because it's disappointing it's only every 6 hours, but that's because the global NWP model, I think, is fairly coarse and it's 6 hourly. Probably these days with the high resolution NWP global models, it could be a lot finer. Perhaps it could be an hour now, but at the Bureau, I did this several years ago. I produced skin SST analyses every hour. You know, it's doable. We've talked about it. There are some products, but close to the coast, an optimally interpolated diurnal warming product is going to be very, very difficult. That's why the Bureau produces composite level 3 products with geostationary satellite SST and LEO satellite SST, so that we fill in as much as possible the gaps due to the cloud. There is no ultra high resolution microwave SST data available close to coast. So you've got to use the infrared data, what you have, but as much as possible to fill in the gaps due to cloud. I recommend that you look at level 3 products and just see if that will be fit for purpose. I know there's cloud, but we can't see underneath cloud unless you have in situ data or ultra high resolution microwave data or a model. So the Met Office has used model and observations. Have a look at that, see if that will help.
Christo,
Thank you.
Quick response, because we need to wrap this up soon. But yeah, and otherwise take it into the coffee.
Thanks, Helen. I think we should talk about it over coffee. I understand using the level 3 products. That's what we use at the moment. I was thinking about moving to a gap-free situation in the next level, as with the mirror product at the moment. But we can chat about it afterwards.
Very, very quickly, just to say that there are also diurnal products for the Mediterranean Sea, Black Sea, and Baltic Sea available in Copernicus. And now, yes, Ostia diurnal is no more, unfortunately, is no more present within the Copernicus catalog.
Okay, thank you. I think that shows that this is an important topic, and I'd just like to make a quick comment on that. We have been working within our UMETSAT NOAA cooperation on evolving the diurnal variability models, also with Gary Wick, who I think is not here today. No, I can't see him. So Gary Wick's really been working on that together with Gary Corlett at UMETSAT, Andy Harris, and quite a few other people who are involved. John Mitaz is involved. So the idea of that is we really start to produce a community model for diurnal variability and skin effects, demonstrating that first of all with GHRSST and the Aussie SAF sea surface temperatures. But the idea is that we broaden that with GRIST, and I can see that would be very timely to discuss that and present that at the next meeting. And I think also with all the diurnal warming products and work, then we could maybe design a session on that. I think that will probably be quite useful thing to do next meeting. I see Jorge's got his hand up, so I think one more question, and then we'll start to wrap things up.
Yeah, just quickly, no, thank you. Quickly, a comment on mirror. One of the things that Mike Chin added, which I think could be very helpful in terms of comparing, in fact, the accuracy with level 3 products. He added a parameter called delta T, which tells you how far away in time to the first actually clear infrared pixel. So mirror actually also behaves in some ways like a level 3 product. And just also to add quickly, remember one of the advantages of the mirror product is that it preserves the geolocation because it's not an optimal interpolation. It's based on the wavelet basis functions, coefficients that are applied. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
So I think that completes the questions. So yeah, it's great to see the activity on the Miro board. I can see a lot of people moving stickers around and writing things. So please keep going with that. They will be open into next week. So you can even have a think over the weekend and add comments next week if you like. And then we'll do some work, yeah, with the GRIS project office and try to consolidate some of these feedbacks and yeah, take these forward and see what we need to do next. But I'd like to thank the panelists again for your contributions and everyone for contributing to this session, either on the Miro board or in person or online. Okay, thank you.